Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Devine Witch. This is another podcast Friday, and today is April the 8th. So, what do we got to say over here at Devine Witch? Well, you know how we always start out our podcast. We always start it out with what's going on behind the scenes. Currently, right now, what's going on behind the scenes is I've done a lot of videos, so expect for the next month at least a Monday upload. As you guys know, we are doing our podcast every Friday as well. Now, I did get my camera, so there will be amazing new video uploads for Sundays, eventually at some point when I do the cooking and kitchen witchery. So that is going to come. And then you guys get a broader angle of my kitchen, which is a little bit nerve-wracking, you know what I mean? Especially like when you open your space and there's chaos behind. Or like something random happens that you don't expect and you're like, oh fuck, you know? But it is what it is. You got to live in the moment kind of thing. So with that being said, I also got the hubby. He is back with me. He's become my co-host regularly.
Hello, everybody.
And so, like I said, there's going to be some video uploads. Now, what do you guys should expect in the next couple weeks? Well, for Mondays, at least, you should expect, different tarot card reviews, aka Oracle decks that I got in, along with, some reviews of books, along with a book haul, and also along with an introduction with Callie, one of our Devine Witch staff members, which I'm super excited about because it went perfectly. She's got a lot of beautiful suggestions as far as shops go online. So, I'm excited for that as well. Now what's going on, behind the scenes as future videos. As you guys know, with the camera, it allows me to do a lot more. So you guys are going to get certain things as well when it comes to, different videos. I'm working on some summoning chants, working on some other things as well. So there's a lot that's going on over here at the Devine Witch as far as the things that we're going to end up doing, the things that you guys are going to end up seeing. And also, we are less than a month away, or actually almost exactly to a month away at this point for our May Day event, which I'm super excited. Information will be down in the description like we always do with these podcasts or any video that we do on this channel. We always put the information down below as long as the squirrel remembers. So besides video uploads, what else is going on? Tomorrow, we are actually having the staff come. We're going to start planting our seeds for the garden. So that's super exciting. We're also going to be planting some flowers. So that way, when the whole May Day event comes, we can give out flowers that have been hand sewn by the staff. Because realistically, the price of getting flowers, like even in like the little 6-packs, you know what I mean? They get kind of expensive, and not knowing what the turnout's going to be and how it's going to turn out, I'd rather just get some seeds, sow them, get them ready, and then when we have the event, it's something that we've actually put our time and our love into to give back to the mothers of the community. Whether it be a maternal mother or you've chosen to be the mother to many different pagans within the community, you all will be represented, acknowledged, and loved for that. It's one of our ways to kind of give back to everybody as well. Now, to kind of update you guys also on some of the vending that we had put in for the Pride Days. We haven't heard anything back as of yet, but that doesn't mean that we won't be there. It just means that they probably got a whole lot of applications to go through, and we got to wait our turn and wait for the cosmos to align for it all to kind of come together. Same thing goes with the Festival of Faiths. They haven't really put anything out as far as when they're going to do it this year, if they're going to do it this year. I said they will. They've been pretty adamant about it for at least since 2018. I think last year and the year before they did like a virtual event. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know if they're going to still plan to do virtual this year or to have it open since COVID numbers miraculously started to go down and, things are looking in a better light. So with that being said, also another thing that we are going to be doing this weekend with the Devine Witch staff is talking about Witch in the Woods, which is our biggest event of the year. For those of you who don't know, we've done Witch in the Woods every year since we started. It was actually our first event that I think I actually threw money on, like as far as like a spot, and started the cycle of doom that has continued. It was a good time. It was a little chaotic, I'm not gonna lie, because I had this whole thing in mind of having the ritual on my phone, saving the trees, and it just didn't work out that way. And then I had to come up with something that was on the fly, and I learned after that. It was a learning experience of always have it printed out, even if it's just one copy, and don't depend on others to help you. Always kind of have it in your mind that sometimes you got to lead. And that was a learning moment, but it was great. It was a fun time. We got to meet a lot of awesome people. We got to have some amazing food, and got some really interesting experiences. And that's where we met Doug. If you guys seen the Ragnar's Riches shop review, which eventually I think I'm going to redo their introduction, just for the reason being that we had complications between the Wi-Fi, and since I got a camcorder now, I can camcorder it, and then I don't have to worry about that. So we're all good and squared away, and we shouldn't have no problems, and I can show you the different products and in real time kind of thing, just kind of show you what they got, what they're about as well. Now, as far as me personally, what have I been up to? I have been crafting a lot. Yesterday was a very crafty day. I ended up wood burning some stuff, making some poetry, which it's been a while since I went down that road, but it just came to me, and I'm like, paper to pen, the gods inspire. You know how that goes. So, you want to tell anybody what you've been up to? What have you been up to? What have you been doing?
House renovations and work.
He's like, I've been doing the non-fun stuff. I did start another book as well, which is going to be up on the book haul, Lucifer and the Hidden Demons, a practical grimoire from the Order of the Unveiled Faces. Now, I will say this is pretty interesting, just for the reason being, like, as far as the author, Theodore Rose, like, you can't find nothing about him because, of course, there's unveiled faces, right? And, like, I've only got, like, a couple chapters in, and I've got to say, well, I don't even know if it's chapters. It's really kind of like a preface, I guess. And between the Lucifer Pandemonium and the Pathway, like, his personality comes out so well, and I'm loving every moment of it. And it's just like it's like one of those people where you get the honest truth, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, this is what it is. You don't like it, do your own research, make your own conclusion. I'm only one person, so figure it out. And I love that type of author where it's just like raw, so raw. It's like taking a honeycomb and taking a big bite out of it, and it's sweet and good at first, and then you choke on it a little bit. And I love that. And that's the best analogy to describe this author. Like, you're going to choke a little bit, but you'll be okay. And, like, it's right off the gate. Like, some books, when you get them, it's like, oh, here we go. This author is going to be talking about this or that, and they're giving me 10 different analogies to say the same fucking thing. Like, get to it. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm all about analogies. I love analogies. But if you give me 30 different analogies for one thing, that's driving me nuts. Like, okay, 1, 2, possibly 3. After 30, come on. Now you're just getting the words to fill the page at this point. So far I do like that. Like I said, I'm still reading the Hexan Black Arts because I kind of wanted to not run it out, but like You know how like you love an author so much, you're just dragging it because you don't want that book to end. It's like reading a good series, and you know you're on that last book. Now, granted, he's probably going to write more. He has other books I could read, but you know, I just spent the hubby spent way too much money on these books that I got, and so I got to get through them before I can dive into another one of Michael's books, and it's just a whole thing. So I'm dragging that one out a little bit. Plus, you know, I wanted to make sure that I'm going through again and checking different things so I can bring up different things about the book for anybody who's interested in it. Because when I do book reviews, when I used to do book reviews on this channel, I used to do it kind of like, not saying half-assed, but kind of quick, like trying to stay in with that window of time, you know what I mean, to beat the YouTube algorithm and, you know, and not be so chaotic. But I'm to the point where I don't care about the algorithm anymore. I just want to share my love of the practice and the knowledge. And I think at some point we all kind of get scooped up in that thumbnail and all that, you know, especially when you're on YouTube, of trying to make it, you know, as fun as possible and, you know, not trying to be overbearing and just droning on like I am now, sip of coffee. But you've seen it too as well. Like you watch certain things and you're like, oh yeah, you know, because if you get all the senses going, whether it be sight and, you know, you remember more and all that. But
Yes.
I'm going to call you one word Tom. Yes. I love it. Yes, one word Tom.
One word.
Like, I know I'm talking, but this is a conversation. You're allowed to interject with thoughts at any time. Like, that's why you're a co-host. I'm supposed to bounce off of you. So when I'm quiet as fuck, you're talking. That's the co-host thing. See, we're still trying to work this out. It's a learning curve, a process, you know what I mean? Like he's busy, he's got his brain and I gotta go to work today mode. So like, you know,
not fun.
he's doing a little bit extra because he's extra, but still, you know, it is what it is, I guess.
Sometimes I can.
Sometimes. Squirrel, shiny. Speaking of squirrels and shiny, one thing I wanted to talk about, and I don't know, but allow me to show it. Of course you won't. Okay, so I'm going to pull it up on my phone. I'm going to read this to you guys. What I woke up to this morning that was around me locally. Now, some of you know that I do follow Loki, Odin, Hecate, and Hades. For a minute, I almost forgot Hades' name and he would have killed me.
Uh-oh.
I know, right? It gets a little bit confusing. But anyway, like I was saying, I follow them. It's not with Loki. It was more of beat me into submission follow. And ever since then, it's been a little bit calmer. Maybe one day I'll talk about it. I think I have talked about it, but I'll make its own video and kind of go.
And other videos.
It's just one of those things. Well, when you go to find out, you know, Odin and Loki, you know, they are brothers and like not by blood, but by choice. And that, you know, with Odin and with Loki, you know, if you give a drink to Loki or you give a drink to Odin, you have to give a drink to Loki because Odin won't drink unless Loki is offered, you know, it's a whole thing. So this is what I wake up today on a post from somebody in a local pagan group. I'm not going to say their name or any of that. This is what it goes. It often irks me when people with very little knowledge of lore try to minimize the hurtful effects of Loki's actions. Well, first off, if we look at lore and we look at the context of lore, a lot of things got lost in time. And when they did get picked up, they were translated. And, you know, the price of paper at that time was pretty expensive. So therefore, when you go to translate things, you kind of minimize it and, you know, things get lost within translation. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a linguistics analyst. I don't even know if I said that right, but you get what I'm saying. Anybody knows things get translated, mistranslated, whatever, right? So just putting that out there. Loki worship, as far as we know, as modern and a historical practice with very little grounded on Germanic cosmology and worldview. Well, there's keywords right there. Germanic. Now, some will argue that Germanic is, Norse, Icelandic, whatever. But you're getting a certain region and you're encompassing it. Now, we all know that kind of like, for instance, let's look at the Greeks. You have the Greeks, you have the Romans. They were close ties together because they were so close within vicinity. But the names changed, but the gods still remain the same. Give me a second. My dog's going crazy. There is nothing that I hate more than when you're trying to do something. I swear, I'm going to eventually get my own witch bitch shack. And that's where I'm going to be. Anytime I'm doing a recording, it's going to be soundproof, and I'm going to be away from everybody. Goals, eventually. But as of right now, I'm near a community room in my house.
It's which funny. Every time you do a video, she barks.
I know. Time. It's like
every single time.
But anyway, let's go on. You know what I mean? I guess it ruined my train of thought. But nowhere in the lore does Loki manifest as a simple, harmless prankster who reminds the gods not to be as serious as many Loki worshippers seem found pushing. Well, first off, anybody who follows Loki can tell you he's not fucking innocent. Now, what they will say about Loki is that the fact that even though he's chaotic, he has a purpose. And most of the times the chaos he ensues is a validated reason behind it, whether for growth or whatever. Now, that's if you're looking at it, because normally if Loki causes problems, Loki's the one that has to fix it. If you look at it, no matter how you look at it, it's the same thing. And also, when the gods wanted, I can't remember what it was that they wanted to build in the farmer, and they made that thing with him, right? And then Loki ends up either helping or not helping the farmer, because I don't know who it was, okay? I just know they were building stuff, right? It was a builder. So the builder was building something for the gods. They wanted it done in a certain time. It looked like he was going to get done in that certain time, but the gods did not want him done in that certain time, because then they would have to pay whatever it was that they had offered, right? See, I'm a squirrel, so I obtain all this, but the names and exact points, you're not going to get a historical rundown from me. You're going to get bullet points, and that's what you're getting right now.
The gist.
The gist. Yes, exactly. The gist and nothing else. So, anyway, they asked Loki to sabotage. So they sabotage with the horse. He ends up sleeping with the horse, ends up pregnant, ends up having the horse with the 6 legs that ends up being Odin's, and he ends up riding as his war horse. Okay, so realistically, in a contest, oh my God, Loki, stop. Context of Loki versus the Assyrian gods, or Assyria, you guys, come on. Let's be realistic. You guys see me struggle with names. Don't hold it against me. We're not all fucking perfect, okay? I know some of you out there who are going, oh my fucking God. But just know, I love you too, but don't hurt me, okay? I'm just one girl who's trying to get a lot out, and it's hard sometimes, okay? I'm just putting that out there. For anybody who's new to this channel, hi, welcome to the fuckery. I'm your squirrel. Let me be your guide. We're going to have different nuts in different places, but eventually we get to our point. So with that being said, when it comes to the gods, no matter who it is, no matter what pantheon it is, there's always a light and a darker aspect of the gods, okay? And you're always going to have the trickster in there. Every pantheon has a trickster or a manipulator that causes chaos, but everybody keeps them around.
True.
So let's go on with this before I hurt myself. Where was I? In fact, in almost all instances, he shows himself to be motivated by hatred, jealousy, malice, and spite. So you're saying like what you're projecting right now?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
exactly.
Chaos with chaos makes more chaos. I'm just saying. He goes from a trusted companion to a nuisance and troublemaker, and to an outright traitor and Kingslayer. Well, if we go with the Kingslayer thing, there was a few different versions of that. So, I know which source you're going with. If anything, he is a reminder of what not to be, rather than to be worthy of worship. And I'm just like, damn, somebody woke up on the wrong side of the hurt. You know what I mean? Like, you just woke up and chose fucking violence. First off, this notion that every practitioner is all about love and light is fucking bullshit. Not everybody you meet, no matter what religion they're in, no matter what, everybody has their yin, their yang, and the fucking in between. That's just how it is. It goes with the gods. That's why, you know, if you do deity worship or if you look to the mythologies, whether it be stories or whether it be of heroes or gods or whatever the hell it is, there's always that balance of good and bad, you know, the inner turmoil. There's instances in everybody's fucking life where you feel like at the time that you were doing something right just to find out that you weren't. And like, I almost responded to this, but I was like, you know what? It is so much easier to bitch on a podcast about something and not really bitch about it, but just to like the mindset of like being so annoyed with the god and making a whole post like that is Loki fucking chaos right there.
Yes,
Like, you're gonna be pissed off about me, but my name's still in your mouth. You know what I mean? Like, that's the beauty of it, okay? And, you know, as far as me, as why I follow Loki, because I acknowledge the things, and there's similarities between him and Hecate in some sense. They both have that fire element. Loki has been associated with the element of fire. There was one story where Loki and I can't remember who else, they were going on a journey. They wanted to cook some food. They weren't able to cook food. And then Loki ended up getting taken away and dropped somewhere or something at some point. And then they ended up being able to cook the food because of the fire. And some believe that that was a story about Loki being representative of the fire to be able to, you know, that's why he's considered part of the block process, because he is a chaos that, you know, consumes.
He brings fire.
Yeah, he brings fire.
He brings fire.
He's a dragon.
He's a dragon.
Could you imagine? I mean, he is a shapeshifter, so.
He really is.
Shapeshifter. There's a dog in my cage. Give me one moment, because this is a chaos. Anytime you talk about Loki, it's fucking chaos. So the first one was my dog Pika going the fuck off because she's a bitch. Second one was my dog, I almost said Loki, my dog Yoda in the cage going, bitch, let me out. Like he's fucking in a jail cell. Bitch, I'm gonna get out and annoy the shit out of you. And I'm just like, damn, give me a second, guys. I gotta think of where my train of thought is. But this is like what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? Like, there's just, it's the chaos of it all, and you're like, you gotta take your time, you gotta figure it out. Slow your jelly roll down and, you know, bring it all together, right? Like, there's not a dull moment over here. There really fucking isn't. And like I said, one eventually day, I will have my bitch witch shack of doom where I can record and nothing crazy will fucking happen. Watch. Something crazy will happen when I finally get it. Like, someone just thinks that there's no one in there, breaks in, and then it's a whole live of me fucking Kung Fu Panda somebody's ass. Like, she said. Fucking A.
Oh, wow.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's never a dull moment on this channel. There really isn't. I try to make it entertaining, and then there's just sometimes where there's just entertainment just happens, and it's just like, well, here we are. Again, Loki is present within my own. But like what I was trying to say in the beginning of like comparing Hecate with Loki, you know, the different paths, the ability to transform, to see one thing as one way and to see it as another, to remember that even though you're in a path of like spirituality, to have that moment of chaos and fun. It doesn't have to be serious all the time. For me, that is what Loki represents, is even though things get put in front of us and they seem chaotic and like, when's it going to end kind of mentality, you know, sometimes if you just take a step back and you just go with the flow, things work out a lot better when you're not. And some people find it hard to learn lessons. So then if you're wanting to teach a lesson, you know, that sticks, you got to make it crazy. You know what I mean? Like, no one sat here and thought, well, I learned about this by, the calmest method ever, which some might, that may be true for some. But if you're a squirrel like me and you're like, bitch, I learned about this fire ritual. And then the way that I learned is because some bitch got caught on fire, which was like fucking insane because they were just talking about sacrifice. And I was like, oh my God. Like they were listening, like whatever. You know what I mean? Like we all have one of those stories where something just crazy happens and you're like, oh my God, mind blown.
And it's true because you hear it from a lot of people, actually.
That's what I'm saying. It's one of those things. Now, I don't want to sit here and dread on somebody's post that woke up on the wrong side of the earth. But realistically, there's a lot of people that feel that way. Like, what's the purpose? That's like in Christianity saying, God is good and Jesus came to save your soul. And the devil has no place in this place. You know what I mean? That's the kind of vibrations that it gives. And I'm like, I've been around too many churches.
Okay.
But not all of them are like that. I do want to say that, like, not all of them are like that. But the ones that are, like, extravagant, which goes into the whole thing with Loki. It's that, oh my God, this is fucking nuts. I can't believe this shit. It captures your imagination because it gets your mind going, your heart racing, and you're like, what the fuck? So it kind of just goes in with it. But do you get what I'm saying? It's the same kind of, like, mentality. Like, don't get me wrong, I used to be very like, oh my God, the darkness scares me. But the more I evolved, which, normally happens, you see the beauty in the darkness. It's just like random things. Like last night, for instance, I had a dream that I was sitting there and I was talking to one of my nieces. And I'm like, I wish we would have done more. We should have done more. And I'm getting angry in my dream and all this. And I didn't recognize it until it was brought to me that, hey, there was something that apparently my soul wants to recognize or acknowledge, or my brain does, whichever one, all three of them. And it's a process of something that I've got to think about. Like, the memories that could have been made versus what was actually made. You know what I mean? And that, like, where you're never truly satisfied, but you don't know that you're not satisfied because you haven't had that chaotic experience to bring it out. Which I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My brain is kind of scattered today.
Oh, I was just saying project yourself more.
Oh, sorry.
Not like, come on, Jeff, let's go. His name ain't Jeff, by the way. I'm just an asshole. Yeah.
That's okay. We all try to have some enjoyment of the day every day.
Some.
Especially after the whole COVID thing, and say we're doing better.
I know. We shall see what time brings. Time is a finicky thing. Sometimes things repeat, sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. Chaos. And that's another thing. Look at time. Look at that. Look at disease. Look at all these different things. You know what I mean? Like, there's chaos and there's beauty in it all. Like, if you see someone that gets, hit with a disease and they're young, you're like, oh, that's fucking sad. That shouldn't happen. You know what I mean? But if you see it happen to someone who's a fucking asshole and who's been treating everybody like an asshole, part of you is like, yeah, you deserve it. You know what I mean? But on the flip side of that, he may have been an asshole, or she, to, everybody else, but to the people they were around, they were a real good person.
Right.
So there's always two sides of the fucking coin, is what I'm saying. And I noticed that even in my own perspective. I've had difficulty with certain people, and sometimes it's just, and I still think that, and sometimes, you grow and you expand and you think about things, remembrance, and you're like, man, maybe it was this way instead of that way. Or what if this was their perspective?
A lot of people don't take a step back and think what the person's actually went through. that made them that way.
Yeah. And you know, like, if you look at it from a Luciferian point of view, you know, or anybody who has the theory of, you know, we are our own gods and things like that, like, it's about our pleasure and our excitement within the world. And some people see it as whoever's around me, like, if they don't like it, oh, well, that's them. This is my life, and I'm enjoying it to the most. I don't know. It's trying to find that balance. And I'm always trying to find that balance. And some things come up, and I'm like, where did that come from out of left field? Like, I didn't know that was a thing with me. I didn't know it was something that, you know, yeah. Figured if I just stare at you, you'll say something profound or whatever. You're like my silent Bob with occasional, like, yeah.
I like Silent Bob, actually.
And I'm like your fucking Jay.
Yeah, I love Jay too.
Like Jay and Silent Bob become your spiritual guidance.
Right.
Shnoy, shnoy, shnoy.
Yeah, that's right.
Can I have that heated, please? Thank
I
you.
can heat it up for you, yes.
I do feel that way sometimes. Like, I've got so much to say that, like, you just look at me and I feel like part of your brain's like, I'm just going to sit back and relax in the chair and go, you know, of course, chaos. Give me 1 second.
Chaos.
Okay. So y'all heard that call. It's my fault. I never turn off my phone just in case, you know, family or whatever. So I hand my husband the phone. I'm like, hey, I don't know who it is. Answer it. I don't know if you're that type, but I am that type. Unless he's not around, and then, okay, it's my time to figure it out. But I'm like, they're like, hello, is this Jason? And it's some woman. And he's like, yeah. And then you hear stuff in the background, but they don't say nothing. Like, and he's like on the phone for like a minute and a half, like, hello. Hello?
The chaos still remains.
Right? Apparently, we're feeding Loki today with our energy, and he is just taking every shot at it that he can. So take that as symbolism. It has been chaos ever since Loki's name came out of my mouth. But it's made me laugh and it's made me giggle. And that's basically what I want to end this podcast on is, you know, no matter how you feel about certain gods, spirits, or deities, you've got to see the symbolism, the meaning behind it all, kind of ponder on it a little bit, you know what I mean? And if it's not right for you, like I always say, you know, no two witches witch the same. And that's kind of been our theme on this channel, you know, no two witches witch alike. And, you know, if you're putting enough time to be fueled by something that you don't like, then you're taking away the time for something that you do enjoy. And that is what I want to leave you guys on with. And to try to remember for, you know, going into next week, focus on the things that bring you joy instead of the things that bring you chaos and grief. And if you are in a moment of chaos and grief, find the beauty in it. Find the time to laugh about it. Find the time to just go, you know what? It is what it is. And I can either be sad or mad or whatever it is, or I could live my life and push forward and try to become a better version of myself. So with that being said, guys, thank you all for joining me for this Friday podcast. And I hope to see you guys next week. And remember, as always, no two witches witch alike.